Hey guys, Miss Warren here. I'm going to do just some basic acrylic painting techniques after my background has dried. I'm using yellow this time. I'm still painting monochromatic because I'm just really worried about getting my variety of values down and my textures down. So I have my basic sky color, and this is kind of like the ground. I'm thinking I might make some of this water as well. You can't really see what I sketched out because the paint covered it up, but this is what I've got so far. So I'm gonna go in with my lightest colors first, and I think I wanna put the sun here. Now, if the sky's already yellow, the sun has to be the lightest thing in the picture. So what's gonna be my lightest? White. So if your picture's already yellow, a lot of times your sun and your moon will be pure white, and you wanna paint that over your picture after the background dries so it doesn't all mix in. So there it looks like a nice bright white sun. Now, if this was some water, I might want to put a little bit of reflected light using that white highlight. You see that that's the same color as the sun. So now, just by a few little scoops, it looks like the water is catching the sunlight and reflecting it back. Okay, I think I want to draw or paint a little bit of an island over here. So I'm going to make myself a shade of yellow. Yellow, when I mix it with black, turns kind of greenish. It always looks kind of swampy to me, so I think I kind of want to do a swampy scene. Mix some black and yellow together, get it nice and even. I'm going to make this a little more black in that because I want to get dark for this part. Okay, so here I'm going to paint kind of an island or some land jutting out over the water. Get that a little bit darker, I think. I really want that to stand out from that watercolor. Makes a pretty big pile of it. There we go. I want some contrast. So you always want to put contrast. So if the background is light, you want to do a darker color. If the background is super dark, you want to do a lighter color so it stands out. I think I'm going to go up the page a little bit. Probably should have done this when I did the background because that would have made this a little bit easier. I am going to paint a tree on this island, but I might have to wait till this island dries just a little bit more. I'm going to go all the way off the page with it. I'm going to smooth out that edge some. And I'm going to get a little bit of black, and I'm going to go around the edge and shade it to kind of show that it drops off, that it goes straight towards the water. The direction that you use your brush in does matter, because it shows that this goes down here on this side, and it's more flat on this side. I think I'm going to do some hills in the background over here. So I want them a little bit lighter than this, but I want them darker than the sky so they stand out. So I'm going to add some yellow to this color I already have mixed up over here. I'm going to start painting some hills off in the distance over here. Kind of let that area dry because I want to paint a tree over there, but I don't want it to mix up. So let me smooth out this hill, kind of go away from the top like that. Get some more paint in my brush. Don't want it too dark because I want that to be a little bit darker because it's up closer. So when the things in the background become more sky colored, that's called atmospheric perspective. Yellow is a little bit transparent too, like you can really see through it. So you can really see these brush strokes. I'm gonna put a little bit of this color on the surface of the water down here to make it look like the hill is being reflected in the water. Let me grab some more of this and kind of do this in the water. Because very rarely is it super light right off the shore, because a lot of times that hill will be be shading it from getting much sun reflection. See this whole area kind of in the water reflected by the sun. It's kind of blocking that. There we go. Okay, I might want to think about if I had like a little bit of a ridge. I'm going to get some darker on here. Like if there was like the rock stood up, kind of divided the hill. This side could be lighter. I could paint it like this side has some shadow on it. Maybe if there's another little like ridgy marks over here. So I can add a little more texture and interest to this hill in the background. I'm going to put a little bit of shadow right along the shore to show it kind of drops off right before the water. Get some more black in that. Show that this mountain area isn't just a smooth surface. It has some cracks and some bumps and some lumps. Kind of looks like an old volcano now because it's flowing down the hill. I like that though, looks cool. Okay, so I'm gonna rinse my brush out pretty good. I'm gonna let that area dry some because I'd like to go back and highlight it, but it would just mix in with everything if I highlighted it now. So now I'm gonna mix up some really dark yellow. Get a good pile of it because I wanna paint my tree. I want it even darker than that, so I'll probably use most of my black on this. I don't want it entirely black. I want to have a little bit of yellow in it, so it's just not. My black is starting to dry out, so I'm adding a little bit of water in it from my brush. Okay, so I want to think of a big tree. So it helps to look at a tree, so you could Google one, but I'm going to do one from imagination. So the roots sloping up. I want it to kind of come across the sky here and start breaking up that space because there's a lot of empty negative space here. So I kind of want to, I might do like a few blades of grass down here, like looking like it's marshy. And it's like coming from another island over here. Okay, let me get back to that tree. And I think I want like the main part of the tree. I might have to do multiple coats because this is getting kind of transparent. I can kind of see through it. And I want it to cover, really cover that area. So have the roots growing out across this island, kind of branching off. I'm gonna try and have most of the paint in the tip of my brush, the very tip of my brush, so I can get those little skinny lines out here. Get wider. If you want a fine line, you just have to use the very end of your brush and not press very hard. get a little more paint instead of pressing harder. I'm gonna fill my paint brush. I press a little bit firmer as I get towards, very light as I am at the edge. I press a little bit firmer as I get towards the rest of the branch, because I want the rest of the branch to be thicker than that very little tip there. Oh, I'm sorry guys, y'all can't really see that. I got carried away. There we go. I might put another branch here. Maybe a small branch coming off over this way. I'm gonna let this dry before I add any leaves. If I wanted it to be a dead tree, I could just kind of leave it at this, but I think I want to add some leaves to it. Feel like this tree is lonely. I'm gonna give it a little friend back here. I'm gonna put it higher up on the page so it looks like it's behind this one. I'm probably gonna put a little less detail on it. Okay, so I'm gonna let this tree area dry, and I'm gonna put some highlights on this hill here. I'm gonna make a yellow, and I'm gonna add some white to it. So you have to wait till those dark areas dry before you can put some highlight on it. Let's look and see. There we go. So you have like the areas that are tall and then the areas that are in shadow right beside them. So any area you want to appear to stick out, you have to highlight. Any area that you want to recede or like be in the shadow, you have to put shaded here. And since this side's facing the sun, I'm trying to put it on the sides of the thing that would face the sun so it would be reflective. Could even do that to the tree a little bit. Here before it dries, I'm going to put a little bit of highlight on the side that's facing the sun. Let me get a little bit more of that light yellow in the tip of my brush. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and, well, here, let me get these little bush things here. Let me highlight those some too. I feel like I have too much paint in the head of my brush and not enough on the tip to get these little strands, make it look like it's really some grassy texture. Could put some grassy texture down here too. If I wanted to dry brush it, I can wipe my brush out. Just get some of the little furs on the end. I can put some grassy texture near my roots so it doesn't look so barren. Okay, so now I think that top part's dry enough to where I can get some branches in, or like some leaves in. So I'm gonna mix something darker than the sky, but lighter than my branches. So I'm gonna get some yellow and some black, because I want this to stick out from the sky and the branches. I want it to be a different shade. I'm gonna start dabbing it to kind of imply leaves in kind of clusters around where I put the branches. I'm not smashing hard, I'm just kind of dancing and dabbing. So I wanted it lighter than the tree in case I kind of painted over to show that these leaves are like behind. Let me get some more paint in there. And it's okay with this is if you use slightly different shades, which each time you kind of dab in on the tree, because it will make it just look like the leaves are slightly different colors in different parts of the tree. I'm going to do the leaves in this tree in the background a little bit lighter. And I'm going to do the leaves kind of facing the sun on this side a little bit lighter. Make it maybe look like it's hitting the sun is reflecting off some of the leaves. It's getting a little bit of that light. While it's still wet, I'm going to put a little white there and dab some white into it so it looks like it's reflecting some of that sunlight. Okay, this part looks a little blank. Maybe I'll put some clouds in there, but this video is starting to get a little bit long. I just started to enjoy really painting, start coming together. So I can do a cloud. I'm going to do just a kind of stretched out smooth cloud, like one that's about to dissipate. Maybe a cloud coming from this side too. Maybe a cloud over here over the water. Going off the edge of the page, just kind of breaking up so nothing looks too blank. One last thing, I think I'm going to highlight my cloud on the side that's facing the sun. Put a little white so it's reflecting the light of the sun. Any side that faces the sun is going to get a little bit of white. Okay. So that's some basic painting techniques: tree, water, sunshine, and reflected light in acrylic paint, monochromatic with yellow.